Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 7th November 2023. Sorry, it is 6th November 2023. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. HARDAN, 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 Haribol, TRSV, Nectar, NECTAR, Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been discussing about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been doing in all my previous videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. But before that, I request you to kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all that has been happening in my past, present, and future videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. In the past few videos, we have been trying to analyze three very important factors which play a great role in making a particular human a living entity, whether male or female, to achieve his or her material or spiritual goal in this lifetime. In that process, we not only discussed in detail about these factors, but we also discussed about several case histories, both male and female, of material and spiritual nature, which gave us an authenticated report of the genuineness or the relevance of these three factors in the lifetime of every human living entity, whether male or female, in his or her lifetime. Today we shall discuss about another such case history to give us a further credence to this fact that these three factors play a great role in the achievement of material or spiritual kind of every human living entity, whether male or female. We already know by now that the great French emperor of the 19th century, Napoleon Bonaparte, has gone on a record saying that we need three very important qualities or factors which decide the achievement or otherwise of our life's aim. Even if we do not reach the pinnacle of success in that particular purpose in life, at least we come further away from where we had begun when we were born in a particular lifetime. In this, he said that we need the following three factors: limitless ambition, ceaseless industry, and a determination to succeed. Further, one very internationally renowned spiritualist from India, Swami Vivekananda, has also gone on record saying, "Arise, awake, sleep not till the goal is reached." By goal, he has said that we have to set up a goal in our own lifetime to be achieved by us in that lifetime, at least even if it is not the ultimate bullseye in our main purpose of life. I will try to elucidate this particular matter further. Every living entity goes through a chain of endless births and deaths in this material world during his or her journey, both materialistic and spiritual, towards the ultimate goal of getting delivered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an evolved soul. In that process, after getting birth in various species, this living entity ultimately reaches that stage from when on he or she must normally start getting birth in human form. It has been mentioned by the spiritualists of yoga that till the time when the living entity is being born in various other species, he or she has only a collection of memories of that particular life in that species and not a destiny or karma. Destiny or karma of a living entity begins when this particular living entity is born in the human species. There are at least 400 different forms of human species. On an average, every living entity has to go through at least 50 of such 400,000 in to be born as a human species. This destiny or karma begins right from the first birth in the human species. Destiny or karma is nothing but a record of the efforts and activities of that particular living entity in a particular human life which has not yet been worked out at least either before or during that particular lifetime. As for example, if the name of the living entity is A, then if A has taken his or her first birth in a human form. His or her destiny or karma will begin right when this person is born. However, his or her efforts and activities during his or her lifetime in that particular birth will be dutifully recorded. Of this, 90 or 85% may be worked out in that particular lifetime itself. It means that the efforts or karma of that particular living entity in that particular birth will get its results or opposite and equal reaction in that particular lifetime itself. However, 15 to 10% of his or her karma or effort in that particular lifetime will remain as a residue which has to be worked out in the next birth. Such 15 or 10% of unworked karma will be stored in the superconscious memory of that particular human living entity. This 15 or 10% is known as Sanchit Karma. In the case of this person passing on in that particular living lifetime without working out this 15 or 10% of Sanchit Karma, he or she will be born again in a human species in the next birth. In the next birth, the foundation for that next birth will be the slice of Sanchit Karma which this person already had in storage due to his or her past lifetime. This slice of life which lays the foundation for this living entity's next birth is known as Prarabdha Karma. Such an activity goes on in the endless births and deaths of that particular living entity as a human species. Thus, the Sanchit karma of that particular living entity keeps on growing and reducing according to the destiny, karma, and working out of that particular Sanchit karma in the endless chain of births and deaths of that particular living entity, whether male or female. During this process, advertently or inadvertently, by default or by design, deliberately or otherwise, knowingly or unknowingly, during one such several births in the human species of that particular living entity, in one particular birth, this particular living entity realizes the true meaning of this endless cycle of births and deaths. He or she realizes that he or she has a purpose in life for him or her to complete while trying to proceed further in this endless cycle of birth and death. This may happen in any of the middle births of this particular living entity. In other words, suppose that particular living entity has already completed 10 different births in the human species. He or she gets acclimatized to be born as a human species. Unknown to him or her, in the superconscious memory of that particular living entity, there is a vast storage of unworked karma of that particular living entity in his or her past birth. In such a case, in the 11th birth, this living entity, because of his or her cerebral evolvement, realizes for the first time that he or she has come into this world with a purpose in life. Then this person starts knowing this or realizing this purpose knowingly or unknowingly, advertently or inadvertently. This person tries to work on that particular purpose slowly but steadily. It takes time. This cannot be achieved in one lifetime necessarily. In such a case, the journey on the path of that particular purpose begins for that particular living entity in one lifetime. Slowly but steadily, he or she progresses in that path. In any lifetime, it is not necessary that that person may achieve his or her bull's eye in the process of his or her efforts in that journey. However, as I said, deliberately or otherwise, by chance or by design, this person comes to know the actual bull's eye of that particular purpose. It gets embedded in the psyche of that particular living entity. If it happens so, this person, according to Napoleon Bonaparte, must consider his limitless ambition to reach that bull's eye. And for that, he or she must put in ceaseless industry and get determined to reach that particular goal in this lifetime or the other. That is what Napoleon Bonaparte said. If this person focuses himself and his or her cerebral faculties towards that goal, then if not in this lifetime, at least in the next, he or she will reach that goal. This is possible only if that particular living entity makes that bull's eye and the purpose an extension of his or her own life in this material world. In other words, this particular purpose must get soaked into the genes of that particular living entity for him or her to live that purpose in a lifetime. And how we shall talk in this particular case history. There is a village called Ranbhajpur in Bengal, which is probably in what is known as Bangladesh in the Indian subcontinent and is a part of a separate country in the Indian subcontinent, or else it is a part of West Bengal, which is a part of India, which is also a separate country in this Indian subcontinent. One particular boy was born in this village of Ranbhatpur in Bengal in the 19th century. It could have been in the early 19th century or in the mid 19th century. But anyway, this boy was one such living entity who had set his or her eyes, he was set his eye on that bull's eye to get spiritually inclined, self-realized, liberated from repeated births and deaths, and finally get delivered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an evolved soul. This boy was christened Ram Gopal. The surname of this boy was Majumdar. So Ram Gopal Majumdar became this boy's full name. Probably this guy had been working on this purpose of life in the past few births also, as a result of which he became spiritually inclined right in his childhood. One day, this boy left his own family for good and proceeded to achieve his or her spiritual goal and to achieve the bull's eye in this lifetime itself. This boy, who was considered to be a sleepless saint, spent hours, weeks, months, and years in various caves in various mountains, including the Himalayas, to meditate on the Supreme Self. So much so that right from his childhood till his old age, he spent his life in meditating on the Supreme Soul and trying to eke out a material life by begging for food from other people in the nearby villages. This boy was very much interested in the great spiritualist Lahiri Mahashaya, who was teaching Kriya Yoga in a township called Banaras in northeast India. This Kriya Yoga was initially taught to Lahiri Mahashaya by one Maha Avatar or super incarnation of God called Babaji. This Ram Gopal Majumdar often came out of his own meditation in the cave and came to Banaras to sit at the feet of Lahiri Mahashaya, the most internationally renowned exponent of Kriya Yoga. One day, Lahiri Mahashaya addressed this Ram Gopal Majumdar, the sleepless saint, as follows. He said, Ram Gopal, I know that you are very much interested in seeing Babaji, which you have not yet done. So if you want to see Babaji, you must go to the Dashashwamedh Ghat in Banaras where Babaji will come. He is going to have a particular spiritual discussion with some very renowned spiritualists in that particular area. Ram Gopal Majumdar immediately went to the Shashwamedh Ghat. There, while he was standing at night in pitch darkness without anyone around him, he suddenly found a particular stone in the foothills or in the floor of that particular ghat, and this particular huge stone went and settled down in one side. A hole appeared in the ground, and one extremely beautiful woman emerged out of that particular floor in the ground. Ram Gopal Verma Ram Gopal Majumdar was so stunned that he stood rooted to the ground speechlessly. This extremely beautiful woman came out, looked at Ram Gopal Majumdar and said, I am called Mother, a sister and a spiritual sister of none other than Babaji. Then she said, Babaji will come here any time soon to discuss some spiritual matters with me. Let us not talk about those spiritual matters. Let us talk about Ram Gopal Majumdar himself because we are trying to discuss his case history and to authenticate our theory that even if one ordinary living entity focuses on his or her spiritual journey in life, even such a person can reach such lofty position as to see this unbelievably subtle and transcendental incident. On that particular night, this simple rustic from Ranbhajpur in Bengal, who had spent years in meditation in various caves and mountains of India, could watch something which only one in a million can do. He did not have any formal education in spiritualism, but just because of his own sincere intelligence and efforts, he could watch this particular incident. Presently, both Lahiri Mahashay and Babaji appeared in that particular area where the three had some spiritual discussion. What surprised Ram Gopal Majumdar later was the fact that when Ram Gopal was looking at Lahiri Mahasaya in that particular Dashashwamedh Ghat, Lahiri Mahasaya as a body was present among his own followers in his own residence in Banaras in the city where he was giving a spiritual discourse. As has been already mentioned in the case history of Swami Pranabananda. Ram Gopal Verma could also authenticate or vouch for the fact that Lahiri Mahashaya could appear in two very different places at the same time in his body, one gross and one subtle. Ram Gopal Majumdar achieved this and then he went back to his own meditative life as a saint or a monk. Ram Gopal Majumdar also saw Mukund Lal Ghosh, alias Swami Yogananda Paramhansa, the renowned founder of Yogoda Satsang Society of India, which is now an international organization with at least 185 branches all over the world. This is the case history of Ram Gopal Majumdar, also hailed as the sleepless saint who spent a lot of his own life, almost 75% of it, in meditating on the Supreme Self. His lifetime and life story was immortalized by none other than Mukund Lal Ghosh, alias Swami Yogananda Paramhansa, in his own book Autobiography of a Yogi. One of the chapters of that book is that of a sleepless saint called Ram Gopal Majumdar. We must take a leaf out of the life of the Saint Ram Gopal Majumdar to realize that even an ordinary rustic who is spiritually inclined and who wants to achieve his or her bull's eye on the spiritual plane can achieve the impossible in a lifetime if he or she is sincere about his or her aim in life. We must also have this ambition of the spiritual kind and put in tireless and ceaseless industry with a determination to reach our own spiritual goal. This is all I wanted to talk about in this particular video. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on the case history of the sleepless saint Ram Gopal Majumdar. Please give me your own expert opinions, thoughts, ideas, and views so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.